for you. If you want somebody to rack weights, you need to pay somebody like a trainer to follow you around for an hour and rack your weights.
Right.
I mean, we can do that. We're more than happy to, but
there's a price behind it.
It's not the job of the other customers that are working out to move your stuff out of the way, or the staff or whoever. It's
very disrespectful.
That's 100% disrespectful to do that. And that is something that we have a real big policy of, again, we understand sometimes, you get busy. Sometimes you just forget. I've done it.
Spacing out or something.
But again, if it happens on every machine you're on and every time you come in.
Well, and and there's another thing is you got to think about, if you're using leg press or something and you say it's leg press, everybody's legs are pretty strong, no big deal. I'll just leave a couple of plates on each side or a plate on each side of the sled, and there's somebody that's 65-year-old individual comes in that isn't very strong or just starting out or coming off of a hip surgery or something, and they want to use that, but their arms aren't strong enough to pull those 45s off. Then you're coming into a real problem in which somebody could get hurt.
Or they just can't use it because they don't feel safe taking them off, which we have had complaints about that at certain times. I remember years ago, it was a lady who came to me, and she was probably, I don't remember, in her 60s or 70s, and she just physically couldn't move a 45-pound plate off a leg press that was left by somebody left 3 or 4 plates aside.
Wow.
And she just couldn't use the leg press.
Right.
So that's all she could do, just to move the sled by itself with no weight, but she physically didn't feel safe taking off 8 plates or whatever there is.
I don't even feel safe taking off 8 plates when I use them. I'm like, that's my legs, not my arms.
Yep. So,
and just for a rule of thumb, everybody, if you are wondering about how that goes, usually the bigger weights, the bigger plates go at the bottom, and then the lighter weights are at the top, because you don't want to pull heavy weights off of the top, because there's a lot longer way to the ground.
Right.
So if you need any guidance on that.
That's the thing. Sometimes we find things that are much more difficult to do than putting it back. In other words, today I actually saw something I saw on a tree at the very top, one of the taller trees, the 3-foot trees or whatever, 4-foot trees, whatever they are. The spot where the 2.5 or the 5-pound plates go, somebody put a 45 up there.
Oh my gosh!
You have to lift that thing up.
Yeah.
It's like it would have been a lot easier just to put it on the bottom one, the rung there. Like, it just makes no sense. Like, people will work harder to screw things up, than just put it back where it goes.
So
I have no answer for you there. I don't know what goes through those people's minds.
No, I don't either. I think it's just one of those things where it's almost like somebody's saying, "Well, let's see if they take this off." It's like just kind of like a joke or something.
It might be.
Yeah. But what about grunting and grunting and yelling and spitting? That's cool with you, right?
Oh my God,
that's not cool with you?
No.
Oh man. Well,
again, people are probably laughing because they probably think this is like not reality, but like who? Because again, 99% of people don't fall into these categories.
Sure.
They just normally know how to conduct themselves, but. No, grunting is one thing. That's if you're exerting and everything like that. That's one thing. I understand grunting a little bit or yelling.
Is there too much?
Yeah, yelling. There's no point to yell. You're actually taking more energy to yell, more oxygen. You could have probably got another couple reps.
Yeah.
If you just would have focused your energy into doing your lift.
So just being lightheaded underneath
the bar.
People
are just trying. They're attention seeking when they're yelling and screaming and spitting in a public gym, unless that is some hardcore hole in the wall where that's allowed, is absolutely
spit 100%. On the floor, rub it in with your Converse, and get some traction.
If you are caught spitting in here, you are
done.
I kicked a guy out one day. I don't know if we should go into the story or not, but this was a few years ago. He had just enrolled that hour.
Wow.
And he was on a bike, recumbent bike.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing a little cleaning that night, and it was getting late in the evening. It was like 8 or 9 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
And I went by him, and he was like, he was breathing, but he was spitting onto the console on the bike. Like, it was just like projectile, just like...
So like as he would breathe out, like droplets of sweat or something would go flying.
Not like one little or two. I mean, like just the nastiest thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
And right away, I went over to him, and I said... Yeah, you got to get off this bike and quit spitting all over everything. I don't know what is going on here. And
I mean, recumbent bikes are pretty stressful and strenuous.
And so he had a he kind of agreed, I guess, and he stopped doing it. But I walked off, and when I was going the other direction, so one of my another member that was in there came over to me and he said, "Is there something going on with that guy?" I said, "Oh, he's spitting all over the deal. I did let him know about it." And he said, "Well, when you walked off, he flipped you off."
Oh, jeez.
Well, needless to say, that was his first and last night in the gym, at
Wow.
this gym anyway. So
That's
he
crazy.
had to leave.
And this was a member that was over the age of like 11.
Oh, they were probably 30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, again, that's a crazy example. But
Yeah, that's pretty extreme. But there's times that I know I see droplets of matter on the mirrors from like inside places like the squat rack or in front of like the heavier dumbbells and things like that. Even maybe the not so heavy dumbbells. Do you think that's attributed to some similar thing, or somebody's getting so crazy that sweat's flying off their face?
We've never figured it out in
Yeah.
10, 12 years or whatever running gyms. I've never figured it out. I mean, how you get
It's like Bigfoot.
sweat 4 feet away from a mirror when you're squatting.
I don't know.
I don't have an answer for you.
I'm trying to think of one. Like, I mean, people wouldn't necessarily be headbanging while they
But
squat
it happens
because
every day. Every day we clean the mirrors in the same
there's
spots.
always
We dirty
drop-
the next day.
right. And it's always those
Every
same
day.
spots.
Yeah, it's like 3 spots.
Oh.
So maybe it's just the same person that's been in here forever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just haven't tracked them down yet. Trying to think of some more. You have, I know. And you and I are old dogs, and the game is always changing. If I am allowed to use some modern lingo there, it's always changing. And I know that we have to adapt in some ways, and in some ways we can hold on to our old school mentality. But what do you feel and what do you think about people taking pictures and video? I mean, I roll my eyes too. Just so that everybody knows, there was an eye roll. And I roll my eyes too, but as a business owner and as somebody that's been in a while, what do you think?
I really don't care what anybody does. I mean, honestly, if they want to do that when they're working out, that's up to them. Now, what I do have an issue with, like one particular day, it was on the camera. And I had to go and look into it because a bunch of weights were left out
Sure.
by a younger member.
Sure.
Probably in their 20s, early 20s.
And this is saying nothing about millennials or anything. It's just...
Oh, yes, it is.
It's,
Yes, because we see it more with them than other
Well,
groups.
there you go.
This is I'm gonna lead this around to
Okay.
a bigger point.
okay.
I'm not singling them out.
No.
But we do see it a lot with
Younger
20
people.
to 25-year-old,
Sure.
usually male. But they had taken the time to put all this on Facebook, and I saw it the next day, and I'm like, they just left all their weights there, and they had their own video showing that they did it because they filmed themselves working out. Look at my biceps, look at this, look at that.
Right.
Get all their praise online. And I Facebooked them, and I said, it's on video right here, your own video, and you didn't put your weights up.
Yeah.
So maybe you need to quit worrying so much about getting it on Facebook and pick your weights up. Now, say
Right.
if you would have picked these weights up, I wouldn't have cared. You
Yeah.
film yourself all you want,
Yeah.
but
Right.
it's just so. Yeah, if you're going to tear up the gym and not put stuff up and take more energy to put yourself on Facebook and Instagram, then I kind of take offense to that to an extent because you're tearing stuff up.
Right. And is there a time where if it becomes distracting or a bigger ordeal to like other people that you would step in and say something about that, or
I've
just
never really seen that, so I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I've
Sure.
never really seen anybody. Again, that's a different. Again, the younger generation. I would still put us in that category. I mean, as far as our actual age, but in times in the gym, we've been in the gym a lot longer than
Right.
most.
seen a lot of change.
Yeah, we have seen. We kind of we were at the tail end of kind of what I would consider more of what a gym was a gym.
Right.
Now it's kind of switched in the late 90s into the early 2000s.
Right.
And we were kind of just getting into the gym. So we kind of have a perspective kind of in a gray area. We
Yeah.
kind of remember what it was like in the 80s and the 90s, and we kind of just got in there on that transition. So we had influence from that. But to kind of bring this back around, I think it is an issue where, again, it's just a difference in... it's not a value system, but it's built into a person under 25. They don't know any different under 20. They've never had not had a cell phone. They've always
Sure.
had access to this
Sure.
kind of a thing, and it's no different to them than it was to us to watch a VHS tape of something on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
it's just what they know.
And I remember when I was young, I got yelled at by one of the old guys and I say old guys, but it was probably a guy about my age when I was about 18 or 19.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still young, and I had really kind of turned that corner from just lifting recreationally and lifting for sports to actually trying to do some bodybuilding. And my version of a cell phone, I used to take the latest Flex magazine or Muscle Mag or Iron Man in there, Iron Man International or whatever in there, and in between sets I'd pop it open and look at an article or read an article or look at some pictures or something, and it would help, because there was no cell phones back then, And I remember one of the guys was like, "Is this a library or a gym?" Yeah. And he looked at me, and I looked up smiling, and because I thought he was joking, but he was pretty serious in his face. So I was like, "Oh, sorry, I'll go ahead and get back to work." So, and that was the last time I actually broke out a magazine in between sets at the gym. So,
well,
I mean, could that be considered the same thing as shooting selfies for Instagram?
I guess to an extent. I think it's probably the same thing. That's what they're getting at. But I really don't have a lot of issue with it. I mean, if you're talking about strictly from a competitor standpoint, which, again, I know this show really isn't that geared towards that. But I mean, yeah, from a competitor standpoint, I think like if you're a competitive bodybuilder or physique or figure or something like that, I don't understand it at all because I think it distracts from your focus in the gym. But it's a business now. That's part of the business. Sure. A lot of these companies are requiring their sponsored athletes to. You will put out 5 Facebook posts a week videotaping this, and you will do this with the Instagram. We do this, that, and the other. All social media related. So that would be distracting if I were a competitor. I'd be like, I'm not doing any of that.
Right. Well, and you don't want your competitors to see how you're doing too.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's the instant gratification. People nowadays, they want to. It used to be you had to win the contest to get the gratification, to get the recognition. Mm-hmm. That's how you had to place well. You had to actually show up and do the contest. Yeah. Again, we're getting that way off track here, but now it's everybody just wants everybody to see, look at me, look at me.
Right.
Nobody really cares.
And I know we've touched on chalk. Do you want to touch on that real quick?
Well, again, it depends on the atmosphere of the gym you're training in. A lot of gyms, chalk is perfectly accepted.
Sure.
But like in this particular facility, it's not because we are known for keeping a clean, well-ran, well-maintained facility. That's how we make our money. That's why we attract more members. There's a much bigger base of people out there that are interested in working out in a clean facility than a dirty one.
Right.
And so here, chalk is banned.
Okay.
And it is nothing, I've used chalk 1,000 times, not in here.
Oops, sorry.
I have nothing personally as an owner of the gym against chalk or dropping weights or any of that for that matter. It just depends on what's the atmosphere of the gym that you're training at.
Is there anything else that's banned that you would like to speak about? I mean, do you particularly let people come in with like speaker music, like outside of their headphones?
No, they shouldn't do that.
Because I've been seeing a lot of that lately. Not here. I mean, I've seen it here, but I've seen it.
I've seen it a couple times. No, that's I don't know if that would be acceptable anywhere.
Right.
Because nobody wants to listen to your music, probably. I mean, somebody may, but somebody right down on the next bench or the next treadmill probably doesn't care to listen to your own.
Your mix,
again, we're talking about somebody coming in and actually playing something loud.
Right.
And anybody with halfway across the gym can hear it.
Right. So, I know we've touched on a lot. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to bring up?
Well, I think maybe just a recap of what's acceptable in most environments.
Okay.
I mean, just kind of an overall. It's basically just respect the other customers, respect the staff, respect the equipment.
Yeah.
It just comes down to common sense, really. It's really we actually have everybody who comes in. We have a form. It's called general procedures or policies of working out or whatever, and we list about 7 or 8 of these kind of. In fact, I can probably grab one if you want me to, and I can just go over it.
Sure, if you want.
Yeah, there's probably one tied onto one of these papers here. Let's see if I can. Yep, there's one right here. Pinnacle Fitness Usage Policies. And so we talk about these things. It's common sense. Please do not drop or slam any plates or barbells, so forth and so on. Disturbs members and creates an unsafe workout environment.
Right.
Put your weights and barbells back neatly when you're finished with them. Put them back in their correct place, not somewhere where you didn't get them from, unless that was potentially incorrect to begin with. Clean shoes. We didn't go over that.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Bringing
especially
mud into the gym.
I would say, especially over